Hi, welcome to Carolina Now, and thank you for being here today with us.
Thank you for having me.
If you could explain who you are, your name, where you're from, and what are you here at UNC?
Of course. My name is Anayely. I'm a first year here, and I'm actually from Fuquay, North Carolina. I was born and raised there. And then I am an EXSS major and psychology major as of right now. So,
Awesome. And if you could explain to us what has happened to your father in the past months and what your family has been dealing with.
of course. So we've all had an emotional toll. It's been a stressor on my family because my dad, was detained on November 3rd of last year. And from there, we've had several courts. I've had to miss class, like my sisters. My mom is now technically like a single mother, trying to take care of us. And obviously, I'm all the way over here at Chapel Hill, an hour away, and I don't have a transportation to go back home. So that's also another thing that we're dealing with.
And what happened on November with your father? If you could explain a little bit about that.
Of course. So my father was detained on November 3rd because of a traffic violation. So he went with traffic. We're going to make that clear, but he went with traffic. Apparently was going 50 on a 35, a back road, where I'm from. We have plenty of back roads. But he had a car in front of him and was going the same speed as my car. But my dad was the one that got stopped. The officer asked him for license registration. My dad does not have a license as of right now, wasn't able to renew because of the new law that North Carolina placed. And from there, he was like, well, you're not allowed to drive. Call someone to pick you up and take you back from wherever you're from. So my dad and my mother obviously called people, tried to figure out if they could have anyone to pick him up. There was no one that could actually, come pick him up. So my dad just decides, you know what, we're going to turn back around and go home. Like, obviously, that's a sign we're not supposed to be on the road today. My dad turned around, and when he got turned around, the same officer stops him and was like, step out of the car, and just handcuffs him.
Wow. And if you could explain what has happened since that exact event and what's going on now.
So my dad, we had court here on the state of North Carolina because it was a traffic violation here in Wake County. So we went in front of the judge, and my dad of course, went. We had a public defender attorney. So when we went there, the judge was kind of like, you're not supposed to be here. I don't even know why I have this case. Like, you did nothing. I don't understand why you're here. So the judge decided to dismiss the case. Because my dad, and because of the law that was placed during that time where law enforcement was kind of doing ICE's job, my dad was obviously in warning and probably getting picked up. So we talked to the public defense attorney and was like, your dad has a possibility of getting picked up from ICE in 48 hours. But the chances are he's not going to because he's never had a criminal record at all here.
Right.
So we waited for 48 hours to get a call for my dad to be released from just the detention center he was at Wake County. We never received it until I called and they said, well, he's not in the system, which usually means that they're released.
Right.
So later that night, we received a call from my father letting us know, hey, by the way, I'm in Georgia. I'm not even in the state.
Wow.
Yeah, and so from there, we've had a court hearing, and that was a bail to see if my dad can get released just on a finance type of, and he didn't receive it. The judge just automatically said, don't want it, and obviously because of the article, it was because of the taxes that we had showed.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, we had another, hearing about like another date, and this past Monday, we had the final hearing with the judge decision, but that's just, he wants more evidence on that, and so it's going to be a longer process than it should have been.
Yeah, wow. And we were speaking to an immigration lawyer, and she was telling us that tax returns are supposed to be good for an immigrant in order to receive bail and to get out of a detention center. So how do you feel the judge denying bail for your father, and what do you think about that?
Right, so like you said, we talked to our attorney, and usually, like he said, when you show those tax returns, it's saying, hey, I'm paying you and I'm getting nothing in return. That should show good moral character, because the whole reason why you're going to the first hearing is to say, you're not a a warning to, you're not going to hurt the society or anything. You're not in threat of leaving the country. Obviously, he has 3 children who were born here. He's not going to do that. And just knowing that we presented that, and then him deciding to be an expert of taxes at that moment was kind of a shock for all of us, because obviously we didn't even realize that they were wrong until he just decided to pick at it.
And from 2010 to 2011, the judge is kind of curious about how you guys survived with $11,000. So if you could explain, if you remember during that time period, what it was like for your family?
Obviously, it was a struggle because it was during that crisis that we had. And definitely for my father, my mother was ill, my dad was also ill, so it was just a struggle for us. And of course, you saw the taxes, $11,000. How could we possibly survive with that? Well, our community is very tight-knit, and because of that, family that I have here, from my mother's side, was gracious enough to offer us and support us. For groceries, we'd actually go to our local food pantry to get even food in the first place, because that was the only way we'd survive. So free food for us, didn't have to worry about that. The other things, like doing all that other stuff was coming from family.
And how has your mother been handling the situation, being on her own since November, since your father got detained? How has she been handling maintaining the family overall?
My mom is a trooper. Mm-hmm. I do not know how she's doing it, but she's doing it. She's been, obviously has all the stress to do. She has 2 children back at home, one in high school doing extracurricular activities, and she's just trying to maintain everything down, take care of them. And I'm the one who's got to step up now. My dad's not there, so I've been able to step up, taking care of legal issues that were going, evidence that I've had to turn in. And my mom just kind of has been the rock of the household, holding us down for sure.
Right. And how has this been affecting your situation here at UNC? Grades, social life, your overall experience here?
Yeah, so I'm on a full ride here to Carolina. I'm a Covenant scholar. Mm-hmm. So obviously we read all of UNC's scholarship, which is to maintain a 2.0, all that good stuff, that requirements that we have in order to keep our scholarships. So academically, I've never had a problem. I was the top 10% of my high school class, doing really well, did extracurricular activities, like team captain of cross country, like all that good stuff. And then coming into here, I was doing well, obviously, but after this, grades were starting to go down. I'm barely on that 2.0 average. Before coming in, I had a 3.7, doing fine. And now everything has just gone downhill. I also have social anxiety and depression, so that also has been affected greatly and taken an emotional toll on me. I can't even go to the dining hall by myself. It's just so much of an anxiety and a stressor on me that academically I've not been able to focus, and that's kind of depressing and sad for me to see how I've tried to come here, and especially in one of the best universities, and just knowing that I can't even I'm barely staying at flow right now.
Wow. And your sisters, your siblings, how have they been affected by this situation? I know one of your sisters, she wants to come here to UNC for a summer program. How is that affecting her?
Yeah, so actually she wanted to come on that summer program, and we all pushed her in, because at first she was like, I'm not going to do it because my dad's not here. And we pushed her to do it. Thank goodness she's coming. She's a brilliant student. She's got offers from Wake Forest. She's also thinking about coming to Carolina too. But just for her, kind of the issue of what's the future in store for me is kind of where she's struggling. And my little sister, obviously she's 8 right now, and she doesn't understand. She just knows dad's not home. We've made sure to not let her know what's going on, but she knows dad's not home. And obviously, my sister and I had my father there, and it's just depressing to see that my little sister possibly won't have a parental figure or a father figure once, if anything goes down south. Yeah.
And if you could just explain what your father means to you, and what do you expect for him in the future?
Oh goodness. So actually, my father was the first one who figured out that I was going to Carolina, and he told me how proud he was, and he loved me, and that was great. He was there for all my performances. I did choir as well. He was there. He's just been a great support for me throughout my life, of course. So he's an essential part, and something that I definitely need. My little sister obviously needs that. but I'm hoping that he comes out just because he's a good man. He's done so many things for the community. You know, that he's known as throughout our community because he's done so much, volunteered for so many people, done jobs for them. Like, you know, he's just been a helping hand for everyone. And all I can hope is just for him to come out and continue to be that wonderful man that he was once he was in there.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for being here today. We hope you enjoyed speaking with us.
Thank you for having me.